2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda.
Hello and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda. Today I am joined by State Representative Dane Watro. He represents the 116th District. Representative Watro is also a veteran, and we are going to be focusing our conversation on veterans' concerns. So thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you coming in. I want our viewers to learn about you and about your military service and how you continue to help veterans in our community.
Jane Ann, thank you so much for having me here at the network. I really appreciate it. Talking about veterans and the way we could help and honor our veterans, it's super important to me. So I sincerely appreciate this opportunity and this network for having me here today.
And just tell us a little bit about yourself and the district that you serve, just to get people a little bit more acquainted with who you are.
I say I have the best district in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's the 116th district. That's the Hazleton area. And then I live in Schuylkill County, so I do serve portions of Schuylkill County. Shenandoah, Monterey City, Klein Township, McAdoo, all the Union Townships. I'm just... like I said, I swear I have the best district in the state.
Well, I agree because I'm in the Hazleton area. I'm a
There you
Hazleton
go.
girl, so there we go. So let's go back a little bit to the beginning, back to when you decided that a young Dane Watro wanted to go into the military. What happened? What made you decide?
Jane Ann, it was right after high school. College wasn't my path. It was the military. I just felt a sense of wanting to serve family members and all that great stuff, reading and watching television of our service members. I just had this ambition to want to put that uniform on and serve.
Now, were you inspired by family members that were in the military?
Yeah, grandparents were in there. I didn't get to see them while they're in service, but my uncles, I have two uncles, both retired, one from the Marine Corps, one from the Air Force. Other uncles served, not retired, but served many years in the branches. And I got to see them when I was a young boy coming off that airplane, dressed in their uniform, looked so professional, squared away. And I always said to myself that I want to do that one day. Not knowing what branch, but always wanted to serve and have that sense of pride that I watched them have getting off that aircraft.
So that's a big decision to make in high school for a young person. And you decided on the Army. So how long did you serve? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
4 years active duty right after high school. I went in United States Army. My first duty assignment was the Republic of Korea.
Oh.
Very close to the DMZ, which was quite of an eye-opening experience for me being so young. I wish I had the opportunity to go back. The food was amazing. Everything was great. But I tell you what, I really had a sense of service right then and there at such a young age, serving Camp Garryon in Korea. And then I got to serve in stateside, Fort Hood, Texas, 4th Infantry Division. And my service really set the tone for my life moving forward. 4 years active duty, and then I got out, started a family. My first daughter was born, Anastasia, and returned back to the McAdoo area.
And once you were back in McAdoo, then you became mayor.
Yes.
And you start mayor of McAdoo. So you're there, you're serving McAdoo, and then you went back to the military.
A little bit. So I was out of the military. 2 years after being out is when 9/11 happened, and we were deployed to Afghanistan. And then shortly after that, the campaign happened in Iraq. And that's as soon as 9/11 happened, like you, I'm sure, our patriotic spirits began to whisper, and I felt a need and a want to return back to military service. I did that, and I went to so many recruiters, I'll never forget it. And I asked them all, can you please assign me to a unit that's being deployed? I want it in my contract. They unfortunately could not do that, but I met one recruiter in Kingston area, and I'll never forget him. He said, I can't put it in a contract for you, but what I can do is give you my word, soldier to soldier, that this unit is going to be deployed. So I signed, and shortly after that enlistment, our unit was called up to active duty, and we were deployed to Operation Iraqi Freedom.
You had an interesting assignment there. I know when I was Sean O'Shea, who's
Great
a
guy.
friend, goes on our Veterans View segment with Judge Munley, and he told his story. And I had mentioned to him, I said, you should tell Dane Watro your story. Representative Watro, he goes, oh, he was there. And I was like, how do I not know this? And so tell us about that. That's quite the military story to tell.
Yeah, just recently really started talking about a lot about this, but Sean O'Shea, you mentioned him. I can't give that guy enough of plugs. Great man. I call him my battle buddy because he always had my back in the Middle East, and even to this day. But yeah, we're selected, both Sean and I, for the guard high value detainee Saddam Hussein, the ace of spades. Everybody knows him as, and really couldn't believe it at first. We're being hand selected by George Pirro, who was the agent in charge of that mission, and to be on such an elite mission during his first year of captivity was quite interesting. In the beginning, not much conversations took place because interrogation purposes, he needed to speak to certain people and open up. But as time progressed, which was very quickly, they got the information needed from him, and we're able to converse and have conversation. Let's make no mistake, he's a bad man, and but everything was from his point of view. I was on the show a few short weeks ago where I got to meet you.
Right.
I spoke about Saddam Hussein, his view about the United States presidents, and his view on Ronald Reagan, which he had told me he had a lot of respect for that man, but not so much for the Honorable George W. Bush. And but like I said, his point of views, and I'm sure they're very much manipulated for his own benefit.
And, and that was our Veterans View segment, so I will have that linked up to our website under our Newsmakers link so people can see that as well. What are the chances that two young men from northeastern Pennsylvania are there guarding this this figure, that was so, menacing to all of us here at home?
Such a dictator he is. And it is unique in the experience. So many great things come out of the northeastern part of Pennsylvania, and this being one of them. To get to be able to serve with Sean O'Shea was nothing but short of being tremendous and wonderful. But yeah, it was very rewarding experience just to work with such a high value detainee, watch the process unfold, and the man really never thought that he was out of power. All the mortars going on, small arms fire happening. He always said they're out there fighting for me, meaning him, which he was very delusional. That's not what was happening. But yeah, that's some of the twisted way of thinking, unfortunately, Saddam Hussein had.
And this has this shaped you then to come home and then continue service in politics?
Yes.
So is that what kind of had you thinking about entering political?
Absolutely. 18, right in the military, got out, 9/11 happened, went back in. And when I got out, Jane Ann, I have to tell you, I felt a piece of me was missing, a piece of just service and serving others. And I said at the time to my family, I feel like I'm a little bit lost, and I started getting involved in local government, volunteering, and then all of a sudden ran for mayor of my community, and I was successful. So I got my sense of service back, and it was awesome. I felt like I had a purpose again, and that's what we as soldiers got to have, a purpose. And ran for I served for 8 years as mayor of McAdoo.
Wow.
And it was I hold that very close to my heart.
And then you went on to become a state representative, and as a state representative, you continue to be a champion for veterans. And tell us a little bit about the number of events. I know you have at your office, you have a veterans outreach.
Yes.
That veterans can come there and ask questions.
I have to say his name, Bill McGovern. And Bill McGovern, he is a service officer for the American Legion. And this man, he takes every veteran, woman, man, a spouse, family member, like it is his own family in there. And he services these veterans and makes sure that they get the benefits that they rightfully deserve. And I'm so very thankful for him and what he gives to our community. He comes in about bi-weekly to the office, both in Monterey City and the Hazelton office.
So veterans can sign up and go there and talk to him as well. Tell us a little bit some of your legislation that you've worked on. You sponsored a bill for military training for those who, to help them get certified as EMTs and paramedics. Now, you figure they come home with a wealth of experience, and then sometimes, we always say, don't forget, hire the vet. But how has this bill helped them? What are you trying? What is it trying to achieve?
Jane, and this was my first piece of legislation that I had signed into law. I'm so proud of it because our military, I don't care if we're talking about the Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, it doesn't matter, give the best training possible. But the Commonwealth, unfortunately, up until House Bill 404, which is now an act, was signed into law, they weren't recognizing our EMT and paramedics. And that's okay. It could have been just oversight, but now they're required to look at their training and their experience and their certifications that they had in the military to go ahead and be certified here in the Commonwealth. And that's one area where I feel that we need more paramedics, EMTs, and first responders.
So this gives them the opportunity to use what they've learned in the military and put it to use again, have a sense of worth. Like you said, you want a purpose when you come home as a veteran.
Yes.
Another one that you're working on, and you can update us on this, helping veterans get into the education system.
Yeah, I'm big into education. I have a lot of respect for our teachers and both private sector and our public education system. And I wanted to mirror some legislation that other states do. I did introduce it. Really didn't get much traction, but this is to fast track eligible veterans who want to be teachers and get them in the classroom and out there teaching our children. But there are some now that their duty and their performance in the military is recognized, and there's transferable programs in there right now.
Do we do enough as a Commonwealth for our veterans, or could we do more?
I always say we could do more for our veterans. The service, the sacrifice, the time that they gave to us, we could always do more. And I just truly believe that, both here in the state and even in DC. I encourage them.
And a lot is when they come to your office for these veterans meetings, is there a common question?
Yeah, you know what that is, Jane Ann? They just don't know what they're eligible for, and that's disheartening. I think we need to do better explaining, and that's why I try to be out in the community and tell our veterans just come in and meet with our service officer, hear what your family and you might be entitled to. That's one thing, they just don't know the process and how it works. And I said, it never costs anything, just a simple sit down and have a meeting and have a conversation to figure out what is available to you.
And it's not only, I say this when I say there's older our Vietnam veterans, our Korean veterans, but there's also our younger veterans too, who may not realize what they're offered.
Yeah, you're 100% right. They don't know what is offered, but there's another sense of the younger generation of veterans, a sense of, well, I served, that's it, I'm good at. Well, I understand that, but just come in. There's so many services that you're available for. It's okay. Just ask for help, and the help is there.
And sometimes I think maybe, as a veteran, sometimes you're a little proud too.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I was looking for that word, and you said it. It is.
It's a matter of pride. But if it's there and you served our country, you're entitled and deserve that.
Bingo, you're 100% right.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Representative Dane Watro. You're watching Newsmakers. You can find information on today's show on 2822news.com. I'm under the Newsmakers link, and we'll be back right after this.
2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda. .2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda. My guest today is Representative Dane Watro. He represents the 116th District. He's also a veteran. And we're focusing our conversation today on veterans and helping our veterans in our state and in our community. And Representative Watro has worked on a lot of legislation to help veterans. And I do want to talk about one, the National Medal of Honor Day in Pennsylvania. Now, we didn't recognize this in the Commonwealth?
Yeah, it's nationally recognized. Medal of Honor, Jane Ann, is one of the highest medal one can receive in the United States military. And what we try to do by House resolutions in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is draw attention to whatever the resolution is. And this one is National Medal of Honor. We have so many veterans, and I don't think our residents here in the Commonwealth realize the heroes that live right here
among us, right?
in Pennsylvania. So we try to just draw attention to say, today's honoring them, National Medal of Honor Day by House resolution, whatever that might be, that number for that year, and to recognize them, have a brief summary of their service and sacrifice that they gave to our Commonwealth. To include, if you don't mind, I always sponsor a House resolution for Veterans Day. And I had one of my most patriotic colleagues ask, well, why do you do this? And I'm like, that's a great question, because it needs to be spoke about as often as possible, our veterans. So there are two things, the Medal of Honor and just Veterans Day resolution, just to talk about what our veterans did for our great country and our Commonwealth here in Pennsylvania.
And keep them in keep their service honored, and that's nice, because I think, we always talk about how when Vietnam veterans came home, they weren't recognized. They were, Judge Munley always talks about it, and that's why we always say welcome home.
Yes.
And it's a different type of when you were in the military than when he was. So the stories are different there, and I think it's important to keep them in mind. And when we were talking about veterans, we were with you for two occasions when we reunite. You gave medals to veterans. Mr. Galeta was Joe Galeta down in Hazleton. His Vietnam veteran and medals. He didn't know he was getting them, so he was surprised. That was a very moving moment.
It was a tearjerker, yeah, for sure. And Mr. Galeta, he did not have the welcome home like I had. And my buddies, when we returned from the Middle East, we had the parades, we had the fire trucks, we had our family, we had all the bells and whistles. And our Vietnam veterans, you said just a moment ago, welcome home. And no matter where I'm at, if it's the mall, if it's Walmart, if I see somebody with a Vietnam hat on, that's the exact words you used, welcome home, are the words that I use to greet them. And they get such a smile on their face because they didn't have what we had. But Mr. Galeta was one of those men who came home from Vietnam and unfortunately never received his medals. And with the hard work, I'm going to go back to Bill McGovern, our service officer, was crucial into getting those medals pinned on his chest where they belong. And then we also had our general from our Hazleton area. I think you know who he is, General Joseph. He came down and we pinned him on the chest of Mr. Galeta.
Right. And what a day, what a smile, and there's so many veterans out there that are looking for this, that maybe don't mention it anymore because it's been so long. You also went to Michael Swank of Nescapec, and you presented him with a flag and a house certificate.
Yes.
And you could see even on his face, he was very happy, and it just means so much to these men that, after all these years, you're finally getting recognized.
You're 100% right. They're so appreciative of that era. I think all of our veterans are. And both of those veterans we spoke about, it was a tearjerker, not just for them, but for me,
sure,
just to recognize their duty and their sacrifice to our great country. And without them, we wouldn't live the life we live without their hard service and their sacrifice.
And I'm sure there's a lot of veterans out there who may not have this, so they would go through their service officer to ask to start getting the ball rolling for that?
Yeah, those medals that they've never received or got when they got out, that service officer, they could call my office, reach out to me through a web contact. We'll get that meeting set up. We'll make that contact, and then our service officer will take it from there. Sometimes we have to lean into our congressional members of Congress for some help and guidance, and they've been very supportive as well.
And, another issue that we highlight a lot when we talk about veterans is, mental health issues, homelessness. What can we do more as a state and a Commonwealth, as a community, to help our veterans? Because a lot of times I don't think people realize how many veterans are out there that may not have a home or may not, or need services.
You're right. I went to, it's called Valor. I'm not sure if you ever heard
The Valor
of it.
Clinic?
Yeah, there's the guy who founded Valor, great man. I just met with him a few short weeks ago. He comes to Hazleton and sets up a food drive.
Right, the stand
clothing.
downs, yeah.
Yes, love it. I stood out there in the rain with them all and watched these veterans come in, and we need to draw awareness to our homeless veterans and making sure that they're cared for both medically and the things that they have. Recent events, I know the VA I just read something early this morning. They're changing their way that they're rating our veterans, which I thought it was not true, and I'm digging into it more and more and more, and they're going to start rating our veterans differently, and I'm very concerned with that, and hopefully our congressional leaders will step in.
So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on, even here in the news about that. When a young person comes to you and says, "Oh, you were in the military, should I join?" What do you tell them?
I have two girls, and I've always encouraged them to let that be an option. I'm not saying you should do it, but let that be an option for everybody, both women, men. I think it's one of the best things somebody could do. It teaches you leadership and gives you that sense of purpose of just service, not only for yourself, but service to your country and service to others. And when you help somebody, doesn't matter how big or how small, you feel so much better about yourself.
Right. And gosh, so my dad was a Korean War vet, so he would always say that every young man should go in the, I mean, that was old school, but that's what that was his thinking,
If I may, can I speak about Korea?
Yes.
I was stationed there, like I said earlier, right in the beginning of your segment. I was there 18 years old, and that is one country I said, I was there during peacetime. I have no idea with the terrain and what they were faced with, how they fought that war.
Right.
But wow.
And it's something because a lot of the older veterans don't talk about their service. It wasn't something they talked about. We talk, I think, more about it now because we know more.
Yes.
And and let me ask you this: you were mentioning, are we teaching enough in schools about our veterans?
You know what? I'm going to say my wife is.
Okay,
She's
there
a
you
school
go.
teacher, and she always, our veterans, for Veterans Day, really educated our students. And I'm going to answer that question with the school districts I represent sincerely. I believe, yes, there's programs. There's a lot of activities taking place, and I'm very happy and proud to be a part of it, because I try to get to every one of them, and we're doing the right things.
And while we're talking about schools, I'm going to get off topic for 1 minute because you just had a bill that was signed into law, the cursive writing, putting it back in schools in Pennsylvania. Very interesting. Just recently we started seeing, about it. We recently had a young lady who was one of our Here's to You kid who won a penmanship. I look at my mom, beautiful penmanship. Mine's okay. My sister's in medical. Hers is okay. But I can't believe that we're not teaching this in schools. Some schools still do, but what will this bill do?
Very few schools still teach cursive handwriting. Very proud to say the school districts I represent in my district, they teach it. I'm very proud of that. But I did learn throughout this process that we have well over 500 school districts, and not a lot teach it, and now they're going to be required to teach it, but it teaches so more. It's just not the flowy letters. It's cognitive, it's developmental. It teaches so much more, and we're going to see our children grow faster. I remember being in second grade. I remember my teacher. I got to give her a plug if you don't mind, Mrs. Bodner.
Go right ahead.
She was a wonderful teacher, and when we got to that point of learning cursive, I felt like I was getting mature. I felt like I'm growing up,
Right.
and I had a lot of pride in it. And to this day, I take a lot of pride in my writing. But it also teaches you, like I said, cognitive, developmental, and I could go on and speak about this.
And I guess it'll be up to the schools whether they now start implementing. But it's nice to see it back, I guess, because I was unaware. A lot of our younger people that I work with here said that they didn't have it in school, and that kind of surprised me.
Yes.
You know, because it's so nice to write your signature. So you should be very proud of that.
Thank you, I am. Thank you so much.
We want to have your website up if anybody is interested in reaching out and seeing what you're doing and checking on what you're working on, or if there's a veterans event coming up. We have your phone numbers also there in case a veteran or any one of your constituents want to call you and see what's going on. And you have an very active Facebook page too as well. So we can keep up with what's happening in our community. I want to thank you for joining me today. Is there anything you want to add about veterans just before we wrap up?
No, once again, I want to thank you for having me here. I just believe just awareness in general is super important. Go on repwatro.com, like it on Facebook, friend me. The more information we get out there to people, the better off we're going to be able to serve our veterans.
And thank you for what you do. Thank you for your service, and thank you for serving us politically as well.
Thank you.
We have information on today's show on 2822news.com. I'm under the Newsmakers link, and then you'll find all our Newsmakers shows also on the 2822 Now app. Thanking Matt Gronsky, Tony Ingargiola, and Andy Dean for helping with today's show, and Joan Ardone, the man behind the board. I'm Jane Ann Bugda. Thank you so much for making Newsmakers part of your day, and we'll talk again next time.
2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda.